Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of RODANE's Kaiju season. Over here, we're going to be discussing some monster movies from across the history of cinema. I am your host, Stephen, and I am joined by my ravishing co-host. Quite like this movie, there are many appendages that stick out of him, but not all of them are real. Daniel.
And yes, my name is Daniel, and I am joined, as always, by my beautiful, extravagant co-host, who is also a giant monster who comes from the deep, but he looks good in a red dress. It's Steven.
Drip. On today's episode, we watched the 1998 movie.
Written and directed by Stephen Sommers.
Stephen Sommers of The Mummy fame and G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra.
You know what I figured out today? That he only did the 2 of the 3 Brendan Fraser mummy movies. I thought he did all 3. So yeah, this is Deep Rising from 1998. It is another movie from 1998 that involves a giant ship sinking. This movie... this movie actually came out 3 months, approximately 1 month after Titanic.
Well, didn't Titanic came out in 1997?
Well, this movie came out a month after Titanic, so I don't think so. Unless Titanic came out in December and this came out in January.
Well, on IMDb, it's listed as 1997 for Titanic and 1998 for Deep Impact. So I don't know.
Deep Rising, not Deep Impact.
Whatever.
we are definitely going to mix that up more in this recording.
Deep Rising. Can we talk about this name? Like, what is this name? Deep Rising. The deep is rising?
Well, we have a giant octopus rising from the deep.
All right, let's get into this. Would you like to do a plot recap, Daniel?
Yes. I have a brief plot synopsis, and then we can go into like the details.
Show us your briefs.
My boxes and my briefs. So this is a movie about a band of ruthless hijackers who invade the world's most luxurious cruise ship, and they can find that the entire cruise ship is abandoned except for a couple of people. We'll get to that. And then suddenly they find that the ship is also invaded by a deadly force, which is a giant octopus. This movie's weird. Can we just talk about
Excuse me, it's called an octalus?
It's a giant octopus that looks like a blowfish.
Well, it looked like a terrible CG.
Yeah, but some good tentacles at some point.
Look, listen. You want to hear how they pitched this movie originally?
Hit me.
They went to the producers of this. I think it's Buena Vista, which is a subsidiary of Disney.
Right.
So they're like Touchstone. They make like edgier movies, but they don't use the Disney branding.
Right.
So they went to Buena Vista and they were like, listen, have you ever seen James Cameron's Aliens?
Yep.
What if we do that, but like on a boat?
But like also Poseidon.
And what if on the poster, now listen to this. What if on the poster, promotional poster, right? We have like an eye and then it says full scream ahead.
Yeah, the poster is hilariously bad.
And then they high-fived each other and jerked each other off.
Before doing 4 lines of cocaine and dropping dead.
My biggest problem is that the first 30 minutes are egregious in the way that they're done. Because, you know, the typical screenwriting stuff is usually first 30 minutes you get all your setup out of the way.
Right.
And then after the 30 minutes, you're good to go with the main plot of the movie.
And this movie does this. The first, I counted, 21 minutes of this movie is a setup for the people on the cruise ship, which is mostly Famke Jensen, who is a thief running around the cruise ship, getting caught and being thrown in the freezer because they don't have a brig.
Yeah.
And our band of mercenaries sailing towards the cruise ship.
Right.
And we get introduced to all of the merry band of misfits because we got all the stereotypes here, baby.
Well, I feel like this is almost like the impossible to reach thing that I've noticed with American movies, because a lot of American movies creative people in the film industry are obsessed with the heist genre.
Right.
And I get it. Like, on the surface, it sounds like a really good idea. It's very easy to pitch heists.
Yeah, like we have a bank, they need to break into it.
Mm-hmm. And we just saw recently with Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, which is very similar to Deep Rising.
I still haven't seen Army of the Dead.
All right. it's a heist. It's still a heist.
Yeah,
with
like I know the
you know
plot of it.
they still go into a casino, same as this. They're still trying to rob a safe,
Right.
and but the problem that I have with a lot of heist movie, even the ones that are for some reason considered good, like the Ocean's movies.
Well, some of the Ocean's movies.
Well, honestly, I feel like all of them, all of the cast is fairly thin in their characterization.
Right.
Even in Oceans, right? We're talking about the newer ones because the older ones are unwatchable.
Yeah,
but the ones like directed in the 2000s.
Yeah, the Stephen
and
Soderbergh
so
ones.
Yes. Like what the fuck is even the difference between Brad Pitt's character and George Clooney's character?
Nothing.
Yeah, there you go. And
but they're enjoyable to watch.
For some reason, the problem-solving aspect of it is enjoyable, but you like in this you have to sit through half an hour of no character building, but it's character building on paper.
Yeah,
like there's some really egregious stuff happens in this first half hour that almost made me want to turn the movie off. Like so I wrote down, this is all. I'm not gonna go into when and where it happens, but within this first half hour, like Daniel said, this whole setup happens. Wrote down some of the stuff that happens.
Right.
So there's a character called Joey Pantucci, who's like the Pantucci.
No, he's called Tooch. He's called Tooch. That's his.
Yeah, his full name is whatever. I wrote it down as Joey Greasy Pantucci.
Yeah, because he's the mechanic greaser kind of dude. He's basically Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, he's called like a grease monkey.
Yeah.
So he's the mechanic on the boat that carries the mercenaries towards the cruise ship.
Right.
Man, like this fucking guy, he gave me some real Pauly Shore Biodome energy right here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Does this man in the fiction of this universe, does he have a fetish for being stepped on or something?
I mean, maybe.
He yells stupid nonsense.
Right.
He has like this stereotypical neurotic character.
Right.
Like if you watch a lot of early Woody Allen movies back when he wasn't ashamed to act and stuff, a lot of his characters are quite like I don't know.
He does feel like a character written after somebody saw the first 5 minutes of Annie Hall. Yeah.
It's so annoying. Also, because of the way he acts, he comes across very thick.
Thick?
Not thick in a thick boy, but like thick in his brain don't work.
Right.
What's going on with this man? Is he okay?
But it's kind of funny because he is one of the only characters of our mercenary group that I feel like gets any like character.
Well, he's not a mercenary.
No, but he's part of that team.
Yeah.
I know he's not willingly part of that team. It's like, but because the plot is that the mercenaries have hired this boat to sail them to it, and this boat has like 3 crew members. They have the captain, played by Tread Williams, and then they have Tooch, or Joey Petrucci, played by Kevin J. O'Connor, and then they have
Layla, played by Una Damon.
Oh, I did have her right now. Okay, I just missed her. Yeah. And they are like a crew in and of themselves, and then they have all these like mercenaries on board.
The mercenary group basically outsourced the transportation to this 3-man crew.
Yeah.
That owned the boat, basically.
Yeah.
The main guy, what's his name again? John Finnegan.
John Finnegan played Tread Williams.
Yeah, played by Treat Williams. Treat, whatever.
I think it's Tread.
Tread. Mr. Williams playing John Finnegan. He says early on that, it's a don't ask, don't tell type deal.
Yeah, like they don't even know where they're going.
So then why is the grease monkey nosing around then looking at their cargo?
Because that's who he is.
But then...
That's his character. Stephen, that's his character. Come on.
All right, moving on. I don't... At some point, the Emperor from Last Airbender says I have never done Korea, referencing having sex with the Layla, who's of Korean descent.
Right.
That was a thing.
And is apparently Tooch's girlfriend.
whatever. It was gross. It's the thing I'm saying.
Yeah, like I wrote literally here for our merry band of misfits. We got all the stereotypes. We got the Australian. We got the horny dude, which is Cliff Curtis's.
Did you recognize the Australian from anything?
No.
He was Kano in Mortal Kombat.
Ah, right. We have 2 black guys.
2 black guys.
One of them is Jim and Hansu, which I was very happy to see, and the other one was Cliff Powell. There's also a French guy, I think, but
the banter is terrible.
Yeah.
Even the main guy, Finnegan. Finnegan is in the boat. He's like playing solitaire and looking at the GPS at the same time. I don't know. And on the outside of the ship, it's like storming, raining, and they're driving, and Layla is on the exterior working on something while the boat is driving around.
Yeah.
He tells her, "I pay you $2 a day, don't I?"
Yeah.
What?
This movie was a trip for me because having grown up in the 90s, you know, you see a lot of this type of like really bad action movies, but this one was like all of the cliches in one. Like
like a black guy prefacing something with "my ass."
Yeah.
Like they talk to Finnegan, and he's like, "I thought you would be a lot older." And it's like, "I guess I age like a fine wine." And then the black guy, because he's black, says
Fine
like
wine,
a fine wine, my ass.
Yeah. and that the male main character is either a nerd in something like Godzilla, or is an asshole. Name your movie. There's like a million of these.
There's a weird debate that I guess was supposed to be banter between the mercenaries,
right?
Where they pick on the Australian dude for being Australian, and they call Australia not a country. Is this a thing?
Yeah, they keep arguing whether or not Australia is a country. Then one goes, no, it's an island, and the other one goes, well, technically it's a continent. It's like,
and I'm like,
oh my god,
this is not something that anybody in real life would ever talk about.
Yeah, and it's not funny. That's the thing. Like, the funny thing is, people went in with this movie and was like, we're gonna do James Cameron's Aliens, but it's gonna be on a boat.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, fair enough, but they clearly didn't watch Aliens.
There's kind of like this mythical perception of some of these movies, like Aliens and a bit of like Predator.
Right.
Where, they have some zingers that they say to each other, which are memorable.
And this movie's full of zingers.
But that means that conversations between our characters just need to be zingers in order for the audience to like it.
Well, what I mean is, in Aliens, we also have our group of Marines, which is presented very much as like a group of basically idiots.
Like, knuckleheads.
Yeah, our merry band of misfits. Because
the contrast is with Sigourney Weaver, right?
Right.
Ripley, but you don't have that contrast here. Like, the main character, really. John Finnegan, is also an idiot meathead.
Yeah,
basically.
I love whenever they cut to a reaction shot of him, because it looks like they just caught him looking at the buffet. There's like no reaction.
Is that honeydew?
But yeah,
nice.
But the thing is, what James Cameron was able to do that I feel like worked really well was he was able to get the idea of these people really quickly, but also doing it in a way that made them sort of endearing. You know, you look at what are they called? Like, I can't remember the names of them, but you look at them. Yeah, the Marines. And you look at them and the sort of interaction they have, and you almost go, oh my god, that's adorable, in like how hammy it is.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, it's just degrading. You hear them talk about fucking Africa or Australia, and you're just like, oh my god. And then Jim and Hansu turns around and talks about how he wants to eat a elephant eye and feel it pop in his mouth, and you just feel bad for Jim and Hansu. And there's the horny dude who, like, when he has to look after the hostages, whatever, the captain and Tooch, like, he just looks at a bunch of like pinup girls on a wall and goes like, hey, I'll look after them. It's like, god damn it.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, very broad, very, it's kind of like we need something to make it feel like these people have a rapport with each other.
Right. But it doesn't
But
it doesn't have the energy of like good rapport, you know.
exactly. There's also some other stuff here. Fucking Finnegan, he keeps having trouble with the radar.
Yeah.
Then
His ship is broken, I guess.
Then Joey Patucci or Pantucci, Jesus Christ, Joey says he fixed the radar, but then Finnegan says in a scene later, "I think this radar is still funky. I can feel it." The fuck are you talking about? What do you mean you can feel the radar's bad?
I think it's supposed to be like a sort of personal banter between the two. That's what the first 21 minutes tries to set up, and then there's Famke
the stuff on the stuff on the cruise ship is a bit more fine because that's a bit more setup-y.
Yeah.
It basically gets to the beginning attack of the squid monster,
which
you
is
see a woman getting sucked through a toilet.
yeah, because the monster, which is weirdly inserted into this movie, which kind of makes me think like when they were pitching this movie, it's like, okay, it's going to be like a heist movie set on a boat. And then they were like, but it's also going to be like aliens, so we need a monster, right? It just seems like 4 movies mashed into one.
Yeah.
But
and
anyway,
at points this multiple scenario thing actually works, but the setup is the roughest I think that it gets.
Yeah. It sort of smooths itself out after the first like half an hour.
Do you want to hear my alternative pitch for how you would structure the opening of the movie?
Sure.
Because I thought about it. I thought how this movie would have been a bit better.
Okay.
You have the initial setup just from the perspective of the mercenaries.
Right.
Maybe, of course, cut a lot of it out because a lot of it is useless. So maybe trim it down to about under 10 minutes.
Right.
Then the stuff on the boat, you edited it in a way where it cuts. It's basically cut when they're in the captain ship and they're saying there's something approaching. We can see it on the radar.
So you're cutting out the whole Famke Janssen introduction thing. She gets caught.
Exactly. And you cut
according to this fax we got. The 90s.
Oh god. You cut the initial squid attack as well.
Okay.
So you cut down those 2 bits, and then as the action on the ship with the mercenaries gets closer to the cruise, like, oh, we're seeing the cruise, whatever. Oh, let's board the cruise, right? And then it cuts closer and closer together with the sequences of them saying that an object is approaching. Then when they open up the cruise, when they enter, it's fully deserted.
So you're doing like a sort of...
They're on 2 timelines.
Yeah,
they're on
temporally
timelines,
displaced timeline. That's what
yeah. So you're like, whoa, what the fuck happened?
Right.
And then they start piecing it together.
Right.
Because then you, as an audience member, don't know what happened.
And if you can cut it down to like 20 minutes, maybe, like 15, 20 minutes, then it feels, snappy and quick.
That also adds some mystery to Famke Janssen's character. Because she kind of just pops out of nowhere then.
Yeah, because she's in the brig.
And then maybe you add an element to it of like, oh, she's not trustworthy because she's maybe like a thief or a spy or something, so that kind of adds a bit of mystery to her character.
Right.
Because she has like some plot intrigue in her character, like, oh, she was a spy on the ship, but then that doesn't play into anything.
No, she's just there. Like the main thing with her plot line is that she's like a thief. She's trying to steal stuff from the ship, and she gets caught and she gets thrown in the fridge because they don't have
and according to the facts, she's like wanted on multiple continents.
According to this fax we got.
Bring out the facts.
I love the 90s stuff in this movie. The mercenaries have an inside guy on the ship who like shuts off all the like radar and things like that on the ship using 3 CDs.
3 whole CDs.
3 whole CDs.
You know how many JPEGs you can fit on these CDs?
Maybe 4.
5. It's a new generation.
But then we have at the 21-minute mark, the monster finally hits. The ship rumbles. People go into chaos. We follow a specific woman running into the toilet, and she gets eaten through the toilet.
I was like, are they gonna? Because she's sitting on the toilet and the room is like shaking. and I'm like, are they gonna do this? Are they gonna? And then they did it.
Well, they didn't do what I thought they were gonna do.
Okay, what you thought?
I thought they were gonna go full tentacle up her bum. They didn't do that, thank
Like
God.
animated and everything.
They didn't do that.
Have a POV shot of the tentacle going through the drain and up.
They didn't do that, thank God.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of weird kink shit in this, so I mean, it would have fit right in.
Briefly after that, our crew finally gets to the boat after a small skirmish with like a smaller boat.
I guess detached from the. I guess the smaller boat was detached from the cruise.
Yeah, I think so, because they do mention that. What is it? Boats like the one they run into is not usually so far out. Anyway, they finally get to the cruise ship. Some people have to stay back and fix the mercenaries boat, and then they figure out that the entire cruise ship is abandoned and full of blood.
See, that's a cool thing to start the movie on.
Yeah,
honestly.
But we're like half an hour into the movie already,
Yeah.
and we kind of already know what's going on.
Yeah, so like the tension for us is gone.
Right.
That's why I was pitching it that way.
Yeah, I think that would have worked better. At least in sort of a setting up intrigue. Then it devolves into like a more streamlined action film where it's like, oh, we slowly get told why the mercenary crew is there. They're there to basically sink the ship because the guy who built it can't pay it off, so he wants the insurance money, basically. And
Simon Canton, played by Anthony Held,
right? Who I think does a good job as like a '90s villain.
Yeah.
Sure. He's fine.
He's fine.
And then the monster just shows up out of nowhere. The monster is literally like no reason to be here, honestly, other than we needed an aliens thing.
Well, it kind of shifts from Aliens. Yeah, I guess it's like the second part of Alien once they're on the ship, right? They're sort of in this claustrophobic environment. The ship might be slowly sinking. There's water everywhere.
Right.
And there's this mysterious thing that is attacking us, and we don't really see it at the beginning, right?
We only see like tentacles and stuff like. Well,
you don't even see tentacles for like the first kills, which I kind of liked.
Yeah,
like the first the horny one.
Yeah. No, the first guy who dies is the Australian.
Oh my God! Before that, Joey Greasy Man and Aussie Man have like this exchange where Aussie says to him, "I don't like you." Why? I don't know why he said that, but and then Greasy Pantucci says, "You don't even know me." Which I thought was a funny line.
And before then, they're like standing next to each other, and then Joey goes like, "Something smells," and then the Australian guy just hits him and is like, "I didn't say you."
Yeah, like you felt like it was addressed to you.
Yeah.
Right, but then the Australian man gets killed, and then a bit later on, Horny Man. I know they have actual names, but nobody gives a fuck.
Nobody cares.
The way they get killed is basically they get pulled off screen, and then there's like blood splashes.
Yeah, it's like the classic. Oh, I'm gonna check this over here, and then they get murdered.
Yeah,
which I liked. Yeah, like I like how much they hold on to the idea of we shouldn't see the monster until the very end.
So basically, the mercenary crew and ship crew, they find the rest of the survivors of the cruise.
Yep.
And poor the Jman Hansu fucking gets an axe to the head.
Yeah, they find Famke Jensen in the food locker. Well, she gets herself out of the food locker, which I felt was a bit of a funny scene. She like opens up a panel and pulls out like a lockpick or something, and then she's like, "I'm just gonna stab this in here," and you can clearly see on her face she's like, "I don't know if I'm gonna be electrocuted to death," but then it works.
Yeah, she sort of has a nonchalant attitude to her character.
Yeah, but then they go to the vault, which Famke Jensen was caught in, and therein is the captain, the guy who built the ship, and some other goons who get shot by like right away.
Yeah. Poor Jman Hansu gets a fucking
axe to the face.
Jesus Christ. But I thought once everybody was together, I thought that the action sort of got a bit more energetic, like the intrigue is also there, like, who do we trust? What's going on?
And you slowly get revealed like why they're there, because the guy who built the ship is there, and Yeah, like once they're all together, it kind of works better as like an action movie, but it's that weird setup that kind of doesn't meld really well until you are in it. When you have to set up, okay, we have mercenaries, we have a giant cruise ship, we have, Famke Jensen character, we have a monster suddenly. Like it just feels like somebody was throwing like things into the plot because they just needed more stuff.
Well, I feel like in American cinema, a lot of stuff in the 80s and 90s felt like this. Like, what if we have this, but with
Yeah.
this, and maybe this?
Yeah, but sometimes like even like Stephen Sommers' own work, it feels a little bit more connected. With The Mummy, for instance, I know The Mummy is like a kind of a remake of an older, the 30s Mummy, but totally different. At least there they have sort of a connection with it all. It's like, okay, there is this mummy which is both the bad guy and the sort of supernatural entity in Imhotep, and then we have the banter is between Brendan Fraser and his like family. It's like, okay, fair enough. Like it's more connected before the two like weird things collide. Whereas here there's just too many fragments that sort of have to stick together, and when it sticks together it's fine, but it's the setup that's kind of a little bit weird.
All right, so approximately 1 hour in, we finally see some tentacles.
Yeah, CGI tentacles.
CGI tentacles. I think the tentacles look mostly okay.
I think the lighting is what hurts the most.
From what I've read on the movie, multiple effects houses worked on this.
Yeah.
Including some of it by Industrial Lighting Magic, and then something by other studios.
Right.
So that's why the quality tends to vary from scene to scene.
Yeah, there are some times where it looks really good, and then there are other times where you basically have what I would like to call the Python shot, which is where it's like it's basically like the tentacles are snakes and they're filmed head on. And
yeah, because the tentacles have like little mouths. Yeah.
And there the lighting kind of hurts it a bit. Like that's what makes it look dated. But I feel like the animation of them looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like they move really well.
Yeah, I agree. And they kind of the problem is when you hold too much on the shot, then you kind of start seeing the flaws in it.
Right.
When it cuts to it quickly, when there's quick cuts to it, I think it's fine.
Yeah, then it works pretty fine.
Yeah, and it gives you that visceral feeling of like, oh, what was that? Kind of.
And it's also tied into like some pretty good practical effects sometimes. Like they clearly did this cruise liner thing on a set, which gives them the ability to do like that crumbling hallway.
Right.
Where they're in this like hallway, and you can see it's like the tentacles are crawling on the inside of the wall.
Yeah.
So you can see like the sort of bellowing of the wall where the tentacles is crawling, and it looks pretty cool.
And they obviously can fill the set with water and pressurized water and that kind of thing. So that looks really nice. The monster doesn't eat people per se. It devours them through tentacles and then spits their bones out. Not unlike the host, the monster from the host.
I literally have a note here that says the second movie in a row that with human remains.
Yeah, with the monster puking bones out.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, all right. So the monster eats the humans through the ends of the tentacles that have like mouths on it.
Right.
And then I guess digest them in some way, and then we see a sequence where one of the crew members or the mercenaries that was left behind on the boat got eaten by the squid monster, and then the tentacle with him comes in front of the other crew members inside and spews out this guy, and he's like half digested,
which is a pretty cool bit of makeup, by the way.
Yeah, they did makeup plus CG on it, so it's half and half kind of.
Looks pretty good.
So they used like makeup and then they touched it up with CG.
Oh.
But it's probably the best effect in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's fucking gross as fuck.
Yeah. But later they get to the actual like feeding ground.
Right.
Which is where all the like bones and stuff are just lying around. Not unlike the host.
In terms of this process, one, I've seen this porn before. And and I'm sure this is somebody's fetish. And according to what the characters say in the movie, this creature sucks you dry.
Yep.
I bet it does. I bet fucking Greasy Boy is into that.
They slowly are dying one by one until we get down to
Basically.
like our final like 3 or 4
Did you catch that they did like a Jurassic Park gag with the hand?
with the hand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Finneman.
No, it's Black Man.
Oh yeah, he's
Clifford.
swimming. He's swimming in like an underwater hallway, and you can see like a hand hit his shoulder, but then the camera like goes up, and it's a cut off hand,
Yeah.
which clearly is a Jurassic Park thing.
There's like also a stereotypical British man,
Oh yeah, right.
Jason Fleming,
Mm.
who's I think he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's like a relatively known character actor.
Mm.
So he's still alive and he's pretty paranoid, and he wants to haul up in one of the deposit boxes on the ship until they get rescued or something.
Oh yeah,
And everybody else wants to find a way to leave the
Oh.
ship, and he basically he has that thing where somebody gets really paranoid and irrational, and they also kind of in his sequence while he's being attacked by tentacles, he accidentally starts a fire because I think he shoots an oven.
Yeah.
And that scares off the tentacles, which I thought was maybe subtle or a mistake in terms of reincorporating it later, that the monster is vulnerable to fire because the tentacles retreat very fast when they interact with the fire, and then at the end the monster gets blown up with fire. But I'm like, what monster is not?
Yeah, what monster is not afraid of fire? Like
it's fire.
It's like the universal destroyer. Come on.
But it's like it's not impervious to your bullets,
No, clearly they have like those. What is it? They're explained as like Chinese special rifles that can shoot like 1,000 bullets.
No reloads.
No reload. No, nobody ever reloads. I love the fact that there is a leader to the mercenary group.
Right.
We haven't mentioned because he's basically a non-character.
Hanover.
Yeah, and
played by Wes Studi.
Yeah, and he explains these guns to them, and he's just like 1,000-round capacity, and it's like, no, there cannot be 1,000 rounds in those rifles because they basically just look like regular assault rifle, but they have like a minigun stretched to the front. But they're basically like the big shoulder thing from Aliens.
Right.
The big guns from Alien, the pulse rifle.
All of the remaining cast gets split up. You get Femke Jensen and our main meat boy man.
Yeah.
And they have horrible banter together.
And then, chemistry.
And then my favorite ship of the movie, Hanover and Joey Greasy Boy. They're together. And they get cornered by the creature, and Hanover is caught. And there's a weirdest scene. I rewound parts of this movie multiple times because I was like, I got lost. I was like, how did we get here? Right. So Hanover is perched on something, and half of him is being eaten by a tentacle, while Joey is staring at him and gives him a gun to kill himself. Right. But I'm like, the way they interact, I'm like, is this a porno? What's going on? I've seen this porno before. Hold on. One of the guys is eaten by a tentacle, and then and then Joey comes to him and says in a soft voice, "Don't say I never give you nothing." I bet you're gonna give him something. Like, it's so strange the way they interact. And then weird. To cap it off, Hanover, instead of shooting himself, shoots at Joey. And then shoots himself. But irony, he shot the last bullet at Joey, so he can't kill himself.
Yeah.
It's
that he gets eaten.
It's just a very strange scene. Like,
yeah, I feel like they were going for some kind of like animosity between the two, and it's like, before I go down, you go down, and then he misses, and then it's like he ends up using his final bullet on revenge ? And it was supposed to be like, I don't know, some kind of hubris,
Revenge for what? You were a dick to him the whole time.
Yeah, like you guys were just dicks to each other, basically. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Basically, at this point, the only remaining survivors are Meat Boy Finnegan, Femke Jensen, and Joey Grease.
Jerry
I
Grease.
know he has a fucking name. I don't. All right.
Tooch.
So Tooch. All right, Tooch. So Tooch, Femke, and Finnegan, they survive. So they get back to Finnegan's boat. They find out that Layla, the other female cast member outside Femke, has been killed off screen. Yay!
Right.
And
No, she wasn't killed off screen. We actually see her get murdered.
Oh yeah, but it's kind of like in that indirect
Yeah,
way.
it's before the monster really gets introduced.
I was kind of hoping she would like come back, like, oh, I'm actually alive, and she's like covered in blood and shit.
Yeah, and like with a gun and like fuck you.
But
that would have been cool.
She's dead, which sucks because maybe we'd have had two women interacting on screen. Whoa!
Yeah, this movie doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Nope, no way.
It does pass the calamari test, though.
It has a man being fucked by a squid. That's the calamari test.
It also passes the all the racial stereotypes, which is back when the ship is still, new and pretty. We see a party and it's just full of all of the weird racial stereotypes. We have like people dressed up as everything.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well,
I mean, it's not, but
it's your dream come true, Daniel. Okay, moving on.
It's my nightmares.
So what I did like is that Joey does actually take a moment to like mourn Layla.
Yeah,
and like the score is also kind of low keying it a bit,
Yeah,
being
the
like,
score is actually surprisingly good in this movie.
Well, it's made by a fucking famous composer. Hold on.
Not John Williams.
No, but close. Still Hold on. Jerry Goldsmith.
Oh, right.
Who, fun enough, also did Alien. Oh.
Connection, I think. Connection.
So, Jerry Goldsmith, very famous composer, did LA Confidential, did a bunch of stuff, basically.
Yeah.
And, the music he did this in good. It's just, it's lost in his enormous body of work, kind of thing.
Right.
So we do see the big squid. Okay, Daniel, this is your main event.
Which looks like a blobfish with tentacles.
It looks like,
looks like a balloon of meat.
Yeah.
With like two eyes.
And
looks kind of dumb.
You know what? Oh my god! I just realized it. I was trying to remember. I was trying to connect two disparate memories that I had in my head. It looks like when those dogs from Resident Evil 4 split up into two.
Okay.
No, nothing.
I mean, I know they open their mouths. Really.
Remember, like the dogs, like they split their heads.
Right. Yeah.
Into like two monstrosities.
Yeah.
And their heads, like their heads are like little tentacle things. They have like teeth on. It kind of looks like that, like the head of the monster has like teeth everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I can kind of see that in the, this thing looks fucking weird kind of thing.
Looks like, but the problem is it's probably also difficult to animate.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have a uniform shape.
Yeah, it's very blobby.
Like, what are we animated here? I mean, it probably was very difficult to animate, to be honest.
Yeah, which is also why I think they stuck a lot to the tentacles, because they are kind of...
A tentacle, just in animation terms, would just have
a skeleton.
certain points of animation, like articulations,
Right.
Whereas a shape like a face would have quite a few number of articulation points. Which would make
given this is 98, I mean, when was The Abyss? I was actually also reminded of The Abyss.
88?
It was 88. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that one did like water simulation, and you could kind of do like a because of the bloppy nature of its face, it's kind of
there is some sliminess on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I also think it's just we saved the quote unquote money shot of this thing until the end. But I think it's more that than it was like a Jaws situation where it's like, no, we're gonna hide the shark because the animatronic doesn't work. It is what it is. It looks fine for 98.
When Finnegan gets picked up by one of the tentacles towards the monster's mouth, it also looks a bit like, not the effect itself, but I think they might have been still using reader screen projection at the time, because it looks a bit... They don't look connected. is what I'm getting at.
Might have just been a bad plate for the green screen
Maybe, but it doesn't look
or
particularly
blue
good.
screen or whatever they used.
But yeah, they find the main monster. There's some stuff with the main baddie, the owner of the cruise ship. He's like, I'm gonna get out of here, whatever. And and Finnegan and Femke get on a speedboat, and there's a chase sequence that's pretty entertaining where they get chased down by they're speedboating through the ship, which I thought was pretty neat.
Well, it's not a speedboat; it's like a jet ski.
No, it's a wave runner TM.
Right.
Whatever. I don't know terminology for this. What did you say it was?
Jet ski.
Jet ski. Okay, so they use a jet ski to run around in the ship because the ship is like halfway sunk, so there's water. And
that's one way to beat Titanic. It's like you ran through the water hallways. We fucking jet skied, man.
Imagine like the two leads from Titanic, running, and then there's a guy on a jet ski. Later, losers.
I got your diamond.
I'm gonna shred these waves, brah.
Crashes into James Cameron.
Fucking nar.
Fucking nar.
Shaka, brah.
No.
I did like. There's a scene. I don't know if it was the actual actors. Maybe it was stunt doubles. They initially want to do there's like an opening where they can go on a ramp and then exit the cruise ship.
Right.
Because they want to get on Finnegan's ship.
Because
obviously the cruise ship can't go anywhere because it's fucking sinking.
And it's gonna blow up.
And they want to go on this ramp, but we need more like a head of steam. So they go a bit back and they do like a cool turn. Like those quick turns that people who know how to use jet skis can do.
Yeah.
Where they go whoop, like they do a basically a 360 turn.
Yeah, they turn on a dime. Whatever you want to call it.
180 turn.
Right.
360 would be they just turn in circles.
They're just spinning in circles.
But I thought that was pretty cool. So they get chased on the jet ski, and like it looks like such a video game scenario.
Oh yeah.
Where they're driving on a jet ski while Finnegan is shooting a shotgun behind his back towards the tentacles.
Yeah.
Like video games nowadays do this all the time where there's a scenario where like you need to run in a corridor by a thing.
Yeah.
There's a thing behind you need to run. And this is exactly like that. Also, I'm still not convinced that this is either a porno or a video game, because there's a line where he's shooting behind him, but it's a shotgun. Right. Femke is behind him and has to, do that thing on the shotgun.
Yeah, like reload it. Or whatever, yeah. Like cock it.
Cock it. and Finnegan says, "Cock my shotgun." Really? And she has to do the fucking motion. And you know what the motion looks like?
Yeah.
God damn it. This is like fucking right-wing nut jobs think of when they think of the American dream. It's like, I'm on a jet ski, there's a hot babe behind me, and I'm like, babe, cock my shotgun. Cock my shotgun while I shred these waves, babe.
With like music from the Mason-Dixon line in the background. And for our listeners who doesn't know the Mason-Dixon line, go look them up on YouTube. They're hilariously bad.
No, it's music from Florida Georgia line.
That was the one I was looking for. Sorry, I said Mason-Dixon line.
Oh, sorry. And it even works. I'm gonna roll my window down and cruise.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
We've hit peak. No.
Oh, gonna be such a good clip to make.
God, I hate that song. I hate that song.
I'm gonna roll my window down, cruise.
Yeah, but that was the band I was talking about. I just said Mason-Dixon line because I remembered wrong. But yeah, go look those up. They're really bad.
Whatever. They blow up the creature.
Blow up the boat in a pretty good miniature explosion.
Yeah, the cruise ship explodes in a miniature, not unlike Titanic. But the creature not being real, they had to explode it in CG. Looks
which
horrific.
which I described to you as like So you have two animations. You have one of the creature and then one of the bits exploding, and it's not like one goes into the other like you normally see, or one becomes the other. It's just like we're just editing out the monster, and here's some sausages flying.
I swear to God, they should have just put the, there's like a library of Foley effect that a lot of movies use,
Right.
stock, right?
Yeah.
They should have used that one that I assume was made out of crushing a melon. The
Oh yeah. The gummy bear from End of Evangelion.
right, perfect. Yes, that one. Right. Creature explodes. Our two main leads, Femke and Finnegan McMeatman, escape on a jet ski. We get a horrible poster shot.
Yeah.
There's a poster of them. Like, you have a movie with a squid. Why is the poster them on a jet ski with a horrible photoshopped explosion behind them? I'm like,
because
fuck?
this is an action movie, Steven.
Brah! Shred those waves, babe! Anyway, all right. So they escape. Also, I forgot about this, but Joey is supposedly killed off screen.
Right.
Because he's
Except
left.
he isn't.
He isn't. So, okay. The main leads escape towards an island that was near the cruise ship.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Conveniently. Well, they do mention that they're in the South China Sea, and they do mention that the GPS needs to work because there's a lot of islands out there, and they don't want to run into an island before they get to wherever they're going.
They could have just waited until one of the ships that hunts illegally for whales comes by.
Oh, got him.
Got him. Take that, China. All right.
I can hear a helicopter, Steven.
Oh God. And apparently the initial ending was supposed to be just them two. They screened the movie when they initially made it with that ending, and then audiences were like, "Where's Joey?" And they were upset that Joey was killed off screen.
Yeah, so he just comes in on a piece of wood.
It's like, I'm alive.
I'm actually. Can you believe the screenwriters allowed me to live?
Yeah, they basically reshot the ending with Joey in it, and it's so, like, knowing it's a reshoot makes all the sense, because it just seems like everybody's out of character. They're like, it's like a sitcom. It's like, Joey, they do the thing where he's talking too much, and then both Finnegan and Femke are both at the same time, Joey. It's like, the fuck?
Yeah, it feels like a fan edit. Weirdly enough, it feels like, we like Joey. Let's put him in.
Yeah,
let's let him survive.
And then they're like, well, I guess we're stuck on this island. And then Femke kisses Finnegan. I was like, what?
Yeah, because they have no romantic chemistry.
And she just kisses him. And I'm like, Femke, my queen, what are you doing? Settling for this meat potato head.
And then we get the weird stinger at the end, which is there's maybe a monster on the island they're on.
Yeah, we see like the camera zooms out, helicopter shot. We see the whole island, basically. And then there's a trail of destruction hurtling towards them from the woods of the island.
Right.
And cut to black. Which I think is a pretty good ending for a movie, if you think about it.
It's just like...
It's ballsy.
Yeah, like it's definitely a sequel hook.
Right.
But it's just weird.
Would it just be Land Rising? On land?
Island Rising?
Island Rising?
Who cares?
Meat Rising.
Meat Rising. Toot Rising.
This time.
This time it's dry.
Oh! That's pretty good. That right there. That was...
But
give this man the Oscar.
That ain't gonna happen because this movie had a budget of $45 million. It made 11.2.
Honestly, for the time, I feel like this should have been okay.
For 1998, maybe if it was like 1996.
Look, we gone on forever that the first 30 minutes is rough and all of that,
which it is. But...
It is, and it could have been a lot better. But I still enjoyed a good chunk, maybe half to 3/4 of the movie.
Yeah, like I was sitting with a stupid grin for most of it because it's just like, this is not Stephen Sommers' best film. That would be The Mummy.
The peak of Stephen Sommers' career.
But Stephen Sommers is one of those directors who's like when you look at the movies he's made,
Dumb action, right?
the two Mummy movies, Van Helsing, like that is a line of like dumb action films that if you
G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra.
yeah, okay, maybe not that one. I mean, yeah, okay, maybe that one. But like you can see that lineage of like, yeah, he's just the dumb action film guy, and he's pretty good at it to an extent. Can we talk about Femke Jensen for a moment? Because we've mentioned her a lot throughout the movie, and not really because of what she does in the movie. Because
I simped so hard for Femke Jensen. I cannot believe I completely forgot how incredibly hot she is.
well, that's not what I wanted to talk about, Stephen. I actually wanted to talk about that she's surprisingly good in this movie.
Well, what do you mean she's good in a lot of stuff?
Yeah, but like
She was Jean in X-Men.
Yes.
And other things.
Must I remind you of the third X-Men film?
It wasn't. Whatever. Okay.
Kill
what do
me.
you? What do you? What do you want to say? You made your point.
So
okay.
what I want to say is basically like she literally has the classic like female love interest role, kind of. But
right.
I feel like she gives it a certain level of energy that makes me feel like why wasn't she the leader of the why wasn't she Finnegan, basically? Or Finnegan, however you pronounce his last name. Finnegan.
Yeah, I mean she definitely gave me some type of energy.
Yeah, whereas he didn't. He was
I mean, what? Fucking this guy has a jaw that looks like the bottom of a jar.
Right.
I mean, no offense to him. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but
yeah, like in this movie, he's a bit of a nothing.
He was the villain in The Phantom.
Right. This movie is also interesting from another reason, which is that Stephen Sommers was actually supposed to do King Kong before Peter Jackson jumped on board, and King Kong is our next week's movie, or next time's movie.
Peter Jackson's King Kong. We'll talk about a bit more on the end. A couple of closing thoughts from me, Daniel.
Right.
What I did appreciate is that they never try to make the stakes higher than they actually are.
Yeah, like they don't. Yeah, like you're saying, they don't try to make it more than what it actually is, which is a dumb action film.
Because a lot of American movies tend to do this, where it's like, if we don't do this, the world
will end, and it's like, no, the squid will just go back to where it came from.
Or at least Cincinnati.
Or at least Cincinnati.
And if Cincinnati goes, the world is basically fucked. But this one is just, we need to escape the boat, otherwise we'll be killed, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, thank you very much. Okay, that's all I need.
Right.
And yeah, for what it is, I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, like it's not gonna blow your mind.
It's a perfect, because I did see this before, by the way. I saw it a lot as a child on TV.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't have like extremely clear memories of it, but when you because you pitched it,
right,
and you initially described it to me, I was like, I don't know what this is. And then I looked up some images from it, and I was like, oh yeah, shit, I remember this. But it's what it is. It's a perfect TV movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In the sense that you can you can catch it on a channel at one point. You don't have to pay that much attention to it. I didn't. I had to rewound scenes because I keep forgetting what the fuck was happening. But you don't need to, really. You can pretty much follow the plot fairly straightforward. And yeah, it's not a particularly smart, or I wouldn't even call it engaging movie, but it's serviceable.
Like, again, I don't think this is the best Stephen Sommers movie, who, as we've already talked about, does a lot of these kinds of films.
Right.
I would probably go with something like The Mummy, which is probably why the Mummy movies have sort of stood the test of time, whereas this hasn't.
Fucking Daniel's the biggest Mummy fan of all time, turns out.
I'm actually a bigger fan of Van Helsing than The Mummy.
Really?
I think Van Helsing is unequivocally a fun movie to watch.
Really?
Yeah. I know a lot of people shit on Van Helsing, and I get it. I totally get it. But Hugh Jackman is hilarious in that movie.
All right. Okay.
Also, he's kind of hot. So.
All right. So Deep Rising, perfectly serviceable.
Yeah.
Daniel, would you give it a rating?
If I were to give it a rating, a strong 6 to a light 7, if I'm generous.
Yeah, I'll give it 6 out of 10 tentacles.
Right.
All right, and if you have a fetish for it, this is perfect for you. Like,
Oh yeah, if you like tentacles, this is your movie.
if you like vor,
If you like big boats.
if you like big boats, like, is that a thing? Okay,
I
there's
don't
probably
know.
a fetish for everything. So, oh my god, a big boat! Oh, those people might die during Titanic. Like, so next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will conclude the Kaiju season, or the review portion of the Kaiju season. We will do some commentary tracks on some other movies after this. After
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, because, like, let's have some fun, right?
Yeah.
But the next one is going to be a very special project. I'm really excited for it. And I actually didn't tell Daniel this yet, but the way we're going to do this review is going to be of our next movie. It's going to be a bit more structured, and it's going to be entirely video.
Ooh.
In the sense that we're going to edit a video to the entire footage. We're going to have structures. We're going to have points to it, like, oh, this is the chapter where we talked about this, and this is the chapter that we talked about this, and that, and so on and so forth. Because the next time we're going to be doing Peter Jackson's King Kong, and being such a in-depth production as it is, there's quite a lot of information about it,
Oh boy, is there.
and thus it can be easily broken down into parts. We can give you sort of a more clearer overall picture of the movie and our thoughts and everything.
Right.
Exciting, Daniel, isn't it?
Indeed.
So next time, Peter Jackson's King Kong from 2005, starring
Jack Black.
Jack Black. What? I was thinking the same thing. Right, Jack Black and nobody else.
Nobody
And-
else. He
nobody
played
else.
everything, including the ape.
Mocapped. Oh my god, can you imagine if Jack Black did mocap? Alright, so Peter Jackson's King Kong. Stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for future episodes of the Kaiju season. See you next time.
See ya.
Happy tentacling.
See ya.